This is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back, one and all, to Scramble Drill. I'm Josh Johnson, and over there's Mr. Ben Watts. And we are coming to your ear holes in the name of fantasy football.
That's weird. I don't like the way you said that.
The roles have reversed. You've always tried to get me with some weird comment before we hit record, and now I'm doing it to you after we hit record.
Yeah, you're doing it on camera. That's the worst part. At least I hide my weirdness.
You know, I realize I might have just played myself.
Yep. Everybody thinks you're weird. Everybody knows I'm cool.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We are happy to be here talking fantasy football, talking about this fake football thing we do in the fall. And
10
we're
days.
talking about busts.
10 days away from the season.
Oh, we are. It's so close. What are you most excited about for this NFL season? Because I don't know.
That's a broad question.
I don't know how you're approaching
All of it,
or anything.
fantasy?
I am in a very different headspace this year than in years past. I don't know if it's got anything to do with the fact that I'm about to have my first kid. I don't know.
I would assume that's got to be it.
I'm sure that's part of it. But I have noticed that, like,
what do you mean a different headspace? Like you're just not focused on it because of the kid, or you're liking different things?
No, it feels like the season has sort of settled into its place where I'm not thinking about it all the time. There have been years past where, like, you get to this part in the year and it's all you can think about is like, how's the fantasy team going to do this year? Still very excited about it, but it kind of feels like it's just settled into its little spot where I'm excited about it, but it's not, I don't know. It's just a different thing than it has been in the past, even though I'm very excited for the season to start, for fantasy to begin.
Okay. I probably don't go 10 minutes without thinking about it, but I guess we're...
You're like, nothing has changed. It is operating as usual.
Beyond ready for football season.
Do you have any players that you're like, if this player goes off this year, it will make the entire year for me?
It's gotta be very on brand. If T. Higgins has a good year, I'm gonna have a very nice year. If Jamar Chase has a good year, I'm gonna have a very nice year. I'm super excited to see my Falcons like actually have a team, a good team, and a relatively forgiving schedule. So I don't know. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, we were talking about him a little bit beforehand, but like if Javonte Williams kind of goes off this year, that will be very exciting.
I don't have a ton of Javonte shares, but the shares where I do have him, the team is very good, so I would be okay with that.
You wouldn't be mad. Wouldn't be mad at all.
Obviously, I'm excited to see my boy Josh Allen play. I'm very curious to watch the LA Chargers, just because I've bought even more Justin Herbert shares, and one of them pained me very much so to do it. In the Scramble Drill podcast, I traded Josh Allen. Shocked the world, shocked myself, but I had to do it.
It shocked me. I mean, at the same time, I was trying to trade away Lamar Jackson and to get a haul in return, and it did not happen, but...
No, the team I was looking at, it's in the Scramble Drill podcast, Big 12 team league, and just I was looking at the team. I knew the team wasn't like a competing team, but the more and more I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know a way to like super set myself up for the future without moving just one of my big pieces. And it worked out that our buddy Jake, he had just lost his quarterback too. And he didn't have another quarterback on the team right now. So I traded Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield for Justin Herbert, 2 firsts, and J.J. McCarthy.
That's a move you like to make.
Yeah, I mean, I did not want to move Josh Allen, but to set myself up for the future that way felt like a move I need to make.
No, that's one of those. If it comes across your inbox and you happen to think there's a pretty decent chance you're going to be doing some sort of a reload or rebuild or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
not a bad move.
And it feels pretty good too because I bring Justin Herbert in, and his value is deflated right now. And my quarterback room was already good in that league anyway. Like my other quarterback is Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix is on the taxi, and now I have JJ McCarthy too. So that's potentially 4 viable quarterbacks on the team. You like that in your rebuild.
Oh, for sure.
Knowing you're in the rebuild and like I don't even have to touch quarterback anytime soon. I can only focus on skill players.
It is nice too when you know for sure, like even when you make a move like that, there's still the doors open a little bit to where it's not necessarily a full rebuilding move. But it's really nice when you have a team that has a maybe higher upside in the future, but not necessarily right now. And you kind of know, all right, we can think a little bit more long-term here. We don't need to think specifically for this season. You can make some of those moves. And in a draft like that, where it's a startup, so everybody's trying to win right now, which means you're zagging while everybody's zigging, you can potentially get some deals done where it's a mutually beneficial deal, but you're getting exactly what you want and need. And then the other guy is getting Josh Allen. So he's getting somebody that can help him win right now and potentially go get a championship.
And Jake has a very good team, so essentially he gets to put Baker Mayfield into a super flex. It's not sexy, but Baker Mayfield's going to score you points as your QB2, and you upgrade Justin Herbert to Josh Allen. So it's a win-win for both sides. I add some assets for the future. He gets to compete. I still miss Josh Allen, but
I know that hurt your soul. But you got to replace him with your champion.
Team. Yeah. But I do have a team where I'll never move Josh Allen, so that feels good too.
Oh, there you go. Why don't we talk some news? Are you ready?
Let's do it. Yes.
There's quite a bit to get into. We're going to rapid fire through a couple of these, but Ja'Marr Chase officially returned to practice, which is welcome news.
Thank you.
Because in a draft over the weekend, I did not take Ja'Marr Chase and instead took Amon-Ra St. Brown just because there was like this little bit of concern. There was a concern. I was like, how long is this man going to sit out? Is he actually going to miss games? I don't know.
Okay. Can I make a side tangent here?
Go for it.
So over the weekend, a friend of the show, Landon Hewell, not Landon Davis, who's on this podcast, but Landon Hewell, he had a couple different fantasy drafts. So I was kind of just there helping him like on Discord and stuff as a liaison of sorts. But there was one draft. Now, granted, this is like high school buddies, home league, one quarterback. Or no, it was a super flex league, but only like 8 teams. And so I'm helping him take the stuff. And he's picking towards the end. I told him to take Chase over CD just because my quote-unquote bold prediction, not really bold, but I think Ja'Marr is the most likely to be the wide receiver 1 this year. So I'm like, dude, take Ja'Marr. I think he's going to do it this year. He's like, no, I'm going to take CD, which is fine. Like, I'm not going to fault you there. Like, if you want to take CD, take CD. So he takes CD, and Ja'Marr just starts dropping. And it's a super flex league, but like, I'm like, even then, he gets like the 2-5. I'm like, Chase is still on the board.
What?
No. Listen to me. Chase is still on the board. A guy like Garrett Wilson comes off the board over him.
Stop
and then
it.
Somebody takes like Kyler over him, and he just keeps dropping. Falls to the end of the second round. I'm like, surely this dude is about to take, because the Superflex League, he's going to take Burrow and Chase and have that stack at the end of a redraft Superflex League. I'm like, that's legit. Like, how can you get better than that? Doesn't take Chase. Takes Burrow, and
what?
Just keeps, he falls to the 3-2 in a redraft league. So my stance is like, It is shocking to me. Everybody's like, well, Chase has burned me. He burned me last year. I'm like, guys, he literally had every single thing go wrong for him last year. He got hurt. He lost his quarterback. Like it can't get worse than that. Like so what if he burned you last year? He's not going to do it this year unless obviously an injury happens, and you can't predict that. So it was
Wow.
maddening to me.
I mean, I don't have a story to that extent, but I mean, in the draft of the weekend, I passed on him at 7, which just him being there at 7, I was like, wow.
Is this a
he's here
one
at
quarterback
7.
league?
One quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not falling past me at 7. There's
that's
zero
crazy.
chance.
I did, however, take Amon-Ra was also there at 7, and I was like, oh,
Who
God.
the heck went over him?
Running backs. People, I think 3 running backs had gone by that point in the draft. You had McCaffrey went, Bijan went, Brees went, and I can't remember who else went.
I don't
those two are
think
there.
Chase should fall any lower than 4 in
I don't think so either.
in drafts.
I mean, now that we know he's back at practice, this holdout thing is not a thing. That was the only thing I was terrified of. I was like, what if there's just the tiniest chance he holds out into the season for the contract? And Amon-Ra St. Brown is no poor consolation in a PPR league. He's awesome. But that was the tear break. If Amon-Ra's gone, I'm taking Chase. I don't need, like, at a certain point, you're getting too cute. Chase fell to the 110. I was like, oh my goodness.
That is, again, irresponsible on the part of the fantasy community.
Granted, it was a home
It's
league.
irresponsible.
It was a work league, so we're not.
Yeah, that is fair. The leagues we're talking about, you're talking about yours, and the one I was not in but witnessed, it was also a home league.
But still,
Shocked
wild.
me. Absolutely
Very-
shocked me.
very wild. I also got Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round in that league, so
You'll take that.
you'll take it. You'll take it.
Okay. But we have gotten off topic.
We have Jahan Dotson.
Draft Jamar Chase. Just do it.
Draft him. Jahan Dotson got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles will end up with Jahan Dotson and a 5th round pick. The Commanders get a 3rd rounder next year and 2 7th rounders.
Jahan must be trash, dude. He must be so bad.
My takeaway from the trade was he was either, well, I didn't think he was going to get cut, but he was not going to be a significant contributor to the Commanders this year. And so therefore they were okay trading him in division to the Eagles for, I mean, a 3rd is not
They're
insignificant.
trying to screw the Eagles. Yes, take him.
Yeah, that was the thing. You don't ever see in-division trades happening, especially not when there's a guy that people think could be like a really solid receiver. You just don't. That does not happen. So he must not be highly thought of for the Commanders organization.
Yeah, no, they have got to hate him. Especially to like be trading weapons away from a rookie quarterback when you've got a Jaden Daniels out there. That is crazy.
Yeah, that really means he wasn't going to contribute a whole lot. And
Did you see the stat that I had sent you? That Sleeper dropped this out.
I probably did not.
Let me see if I can. No, I definitely sent it to you. I guess I sent it to you and
did,
landed.
but
Okay, no, here we go. The Eagles wide receiver Jahan Dotson ran the 3rd most routes in 2023 with 608. He averaged 0.13 targets per route run, which is lower than Velus Jones, Marvin Mims, Jalen Tolbert, and Sky Moore.
I do remember seeing that one now.
He
Yeah.
has got to be so bad.
That's rough, especially when you compare it to his rookie year when he had double-digit touchdowns, and everybody's like, oh, he might be a better dynasty asset than Terry McLaurin. Psych.
He is. If he's on the waivers, I'm not picking him up. He's like
No. He is...
best case scenario. He's the 4th option, and I think Saquon could out target him in the Eagles' offense.
Yeah, no. The Eagles' offense is not going to change, and this is probably the main takeaway from the Eagles' side of this. The Eagles' offense is not going to change to accommodate Jahan Dotson. He's now just a filler piece in that offense.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. Zay Jones was suspended 5 games for violating the personal conduct policy. What did he do?
What the heck? I don't know. I just know he violated the policy.
Did he hit someone in public? What happened?
No idea.
Awesome. All right. Well, Zay Jones is out for 5 games, pending.
Stings a little bit for Kyler, but also we weren't really counting on Zay Jones. He's a nice piece to have though, like as a tertiary option. So I am a little bit disappointed about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
I liked him as a guy who opens things up for McBride
For other
and
people.
Marvin. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wasn't counting on him, but he makes the offense better.
Juju Smith-Schuster going back to the place where he was last halfway decent. He's going to the Chiefs. I did not see the
Except this
terms
time
of the
there's
deal.
a whole lot more target competition this time.
Oh, he is probably never going to see the field in this version of the Kansas City Chiefs offense.
It just makes the Chiefs offense better.
It's one extra guy that you can throw the ball to, but like, do they need another guy? Probably not, but I guess it never hurts.
No, but it's a guy who Mahomes has chemistry with. I mean, even still, he'll probably be the wide receiver for, and that's not even factoring in Kelsey. But like I said, a guy who Mahomes has chemistry with, he's comfortable with him. The offense, when the Chiefs' offense was unstoppable, when Juju was the wide receiver 1 in the offense. So now that he's just an extra safety blanket for Mahomes, he means nothing for fantasy, but it's just good vibes again for the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, I still can't get over the fact that the Patriots were willing to cut him so soon before cuts were happening.
I thought he was the best receiver on the team. He's not good. I'm not going to argue that with you, but like he's the best guy you got.
Apparently not. Apparently not. He might have lost a step. I still don't know. I'm still
He's only
baffled.
27, dude.
He is a year older than us, and he's
Yeah.
been in the NFL for like 8 years.
It's insane. He was drafted like 19, I think.
That is crazy. All right, the big piece of news. CeeDee Lamb got himself his extension, 4 years, $136 million, which, if my math is correct, comes out to $34 million a year, making him the second highest paid non-quarterback in football to Mr. Justin Jefferson.
Didn't quite hit Jets' contract, but I think we all knew he wouldn't. Jefferson is the best receiver in the league. Nobody's going to argue that. But CD wanted to be the second highest paid, and now he is.
I mean, he deserved at least second highest paid. I mean, you could make the argument he deserved to jump Jets by like, $500,000 or something, just so you have that little thing, like I'm the highest paid, whatever, for about 5 minutes.
We both know Chase is going to end up getting more than both of them.
Yeah, probably. That's the funny part about it is they're going to end up having to pay Chase more than everyone else, and he plays for the cheapest organization.
They should have just extended him. Like I understand it's year 3. He's got 2 more years. Just give him the money. You know you're going to give it to him. Just give it to him, please. Let the drama be over.
Is there anything worth taking away from this CD? I mean, people were fading him in drafts because they were worried that he would hold out, but like,
I do feel a little safer now. Like I was kind of to the point where like, if Jerry doesn't give it to him, like, does he miss the first game or 2? Like, I don't know.
At a certain point, you knew it was going to happen. Did you see the Jerry Jones tirade about how he's the GM and he wouldn't let anybody else do it?
No, I did not. I mean, I know he's the GM, but
It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it was full soapbox level stuff.
Jerry,
good.
Nobody likes you.
Okay. the moment we've all been waiting for. Busts. These are the worst picks in every
Only for the first
round this year.
Only for the first 8 rounds.
Yeah, so we did a little draft over the weekend just to do some research, I guess. And the impetus for this was Sleeper has their own proprietary ADP, which is questionable at times. So we brought in some real individuals to counteract some of the computer funky ADP.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, so we've got, what do we end up with? 4 humans and 8 bots just to sort of balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, we got Landon Davis. He's more towards the top of the draft. I'm in the middle, and then you and Huell there at the end of the draft.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the draft board there on the screen for you. And if you're listening, well, we'll just describe it for you. Basically, we're going to go through every round in the first 8, tell you who the worst pick in that round was. I guess the disclaimer from the outset is this is not going to be exactly ADP because you're adding in a human element, so things are going to look a little funky. And, you know, Sleeper's ADP can be a little funny at times as well. So,
But, I mean, this is still the general of what most draft boards should look like.
yes, for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I don't, off the rip, I'm not seeing anything too outlandish. It is mostly what your drafts will look like in your leagues in a 12-team, 1-quarterback league.
Yeah.
So, the first round, I will let you do the honors. Who was the worst pick in the first round in this draft?
This one was more of I guess we have to pick a player in the first round. I don't think any guys in the first round are busts. There are guys that you can take too high. Like, does A.J. Brown need to go at the 105? No. But A.J. Brown's is a fine first round pick later at his value. So everybody kind of went where they should in this draft, so I don't really hate any price. If I had to pick one, gun to my head, I would say Justin Jefferson at pick 5. But even then, I don't think he's a bust. He averaged 18.5 points a game. That was with Nick Mullins. 28% target share last year. T.J. Hawkins is going to miss time. But it is Sam Darnold, and we don't really know what he's going to look like. But I still think he'll be fine in his system. He's going to get a bajillion targets. So if I had to pick a guy, his upside is probably the most capped of all the high-end guys.
Yeah, it's probably just an upside thing. But even still, he had a 200-yard game with Nick Mullins. So
Yeah, I mean,
how capped is it really?
especially with Hawkinson out, and I don't really know what Jordan Addison's status is right now. I know he got hurt. He's probably going to play though. Like, is he going to get 200 targets this year? Like, that's a realistic option.
It's certainly possible. Yeah. Yeah, the first round's tough because nobody
No
thinks
real
any of
bust
these
there.
players are going to stink.
There's no bust
So
there.
you just got to pick one. Second round.
A little bit more interesting.
So I'm guessing the way this will go is we're probably going to have some discussions about a couple of these different busts. But we have a couple names written down. For my money, there is a clear and obvious one, but I think there are 3 names that popped out to us as these have a little bit of risk associated with these picks.
Yeah, and this is kind of another one too. I don't really think anybody went ahead of their quote-unquote value. Like, nobody was overdrafted or something crazy like that. But there are a couple, like you said, that stand out as like, if I had to pick a guy here, I just don't necessarily love where he's at.
Yeah, so the 3 names are Josh Allen. He went at the 211. Marvin Harrison, who went at the 205, and Puka Nacua, who went at the 202. What are the arguments?
My argument for Josh Allen is, again, I love the guy, but in the second round is just too hot for me in a 1-quarterback league. Not when I can get like a Kyler Murray in the late 6th round, or even a Joe Burrow or an Anthony Richardson in the 6th round. The odds of those guys being top 5 quarterbacks, I think, are pretty decent. Josh Allen did lose some weapons this offseason. even if he repeats at the QB1 spot, if you guaranteed me he was going to repeat at the QB1 spot, I think I would still wait to the third to take him, not at the 211.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cost of acquisition question with Josh Allen. And, I don't hate it. It's kind of a gamesmanship thing. Like, is Josh Allen going to be a pretty darn good fantasy pick this year? Probably. But what are you passing up to take him there at the second? And is he going to have such a greater advantage over all the other quarterbacks that it ends up coming out a wash and you're just fine taking him that early? That's kind of the question there.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. And then Marvin stood out to me as interesting too. Simply for the fact of that's probably where you should take him, I think. But we're having to do a lot of projection with Marvin Harrison. Is the situation great? Yes. Is he great? Yes. There's no real reason why we shouldn't expect him to do it. But at the same time, for you to take him there, you're counting on a rookie wide receiver to produce like top 7 numbers right out of the gate. Can he? Absolutely. Kyler Murray can put him there, and he has the talent himself to do it. It's just a little bit risky to like count on a rookie like, okay, he's going to be Jamar Chase right out of the gate. We think he can, but that's a lot of projection. Jamar Chase had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. Puka Nacua had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. So we're just counting on these rookie receivers to produce historic seasons every year, and sometimes it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to say it because the talent's there, the situation's not half bad at all, and like everything is sort of lined up, but there's still he hadn't done it yet. And you have to jump to some conclusions about what he's going to be as an NFL player early, like from the jump, to justify taking him that high. Like if he were a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick right now,
I would love him as a 3rd-round pick.
That's a great pick. But in the second, it's like, okay, guys, we are all the way in, and that is where it can be tough. Not to say he's going to bust or that he is a terrible pick. It's just risky. The last one,
like he's got to be Chase out of the gate, and
right.
I think there's not that he can't be, but like you're also running the risk of like, what if he's the wide receiver 12 or 15?
Right. Yeah. The last one's Puka Nacua. And this one is incredibly tough because I think he deserves to go where he's going. I think he has earned and proven that he is a stud NFL wide receiver. The issue is not so much a Puka issue as it is a Cooper Kupp issue, where the last time Cooper Kupp played a full season where he was healthy, he was the Triple Crown winner. So it's not like Puka Nacua, like I know he had 1,400 yards last year, and I know Cooper Kupp was playing for a good part of last season. There's still just the hesitation that, okay, but what if Cooper Kupp still has juice left in the tank? And what if that means Puka Nacua, instead of dominating targets the way he did last year, instead of having a 1,400-yard season, what if Puka Nacua has an 1,100-yard season? Still very solid, still a good NFL receiver, but doesn't justify that high 2nd-round pick. So not to say he's a bust pick. It's just, it's not a decision I want to have to make. I still want to see more. Maybe I just want to see him dominate target share over Cooper Kupp more, just to kind of reassure myself that, yeah, it'll be fine, even though I am the Puka Nacua believer and have been from the jump. It's a tough pick to make.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised you put Puka in here. I didn't put Puka in here. And I definitely agree with the argument. It's probably right about where he should go, but it's kind of like Marvin as well. Like there is inherently some risk, because if Cooper Kupp is, at 30 years old, maybe he's not the Triple Crown winner again, but what if he's 75, 80% of what that guy was? That's still 1,100 yards. That's going to eat into what Puka had.
Yeah. He could certainly end up returning on that investment, but it's just a little risky. And in the second round, I mean, you're really grasping here because all these guys, I think, are great picks at their value. Let's go to the third round. This is the round where there's
disagree on some stuff
interesting stuff in here. Where do you want to go with the names we've got in here? We have 4 names out of 12 picks.
That's... I'll start. I know you're not going to like this, and a lot of people may not like this. I put Devon Achane, and it's not, again, it's another one. It's not necessarily a bad pick, but Devon Achane, has to stay healthy. He has to maintain the goal line role where you're taking him, because you're taking him at the 3-1 here, which is essentially like it's a late second round pick. It's just scary to me. He has I guess it is one of those you play to win the league. He can win you the league, but there's some inherent risk that he could be a huge bust at that price.
There's certainly risk, but I think at the third round, that risk reward offset, I'm perfectly fine. Like if he is a mid second round pick, okay, I'll pass. That's rich for my blood when you're passing up some of those guys there. But the guys picked immediately after Devon Achane, for my blood, I'm perfectly fine taking Achane over Josh Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes, Sam Laporta, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle. I think the return that you're going to get on the investment there at the 301 with Achane, I'm perfectly fine taking him there with what was on the board.
My argument is I would be more comfortable later, because like if you're picking at the 3-1, unless it's a third round reversal, you've gotten like a Christian McCaffrey, which it should be the 101, but there's a little bit more risk baked in there, and you're taking another, I guess a lower end receiver maybe, which that's a little bit more boom bust as well. So you've got a lot of boom bust guys to where I would, if this was the 3-6 or the 3-7, I feel a lot more comfortable, because that means your round 1 pick was like someone like Amon-Ra, and that in the second you're getting like a Travis Kelce or someone like that. Great pick, by the way, of Travis Kelce. But I digress. You're getting 2 safe players, and then you're getting Devon Achane, who could be the week winner, which I really like that strategy. But at where you're getting him here, you've got a lot of guys that could win you the week, and a lot of guys who could bury you if they don't perform too. So that's where my fear for Achane there comes in.
Yeah, I mean, people taking Achane are going to have all sorts of roster builds. In this case, the Team 1 team did go with a pretty volatile lineup, which, to each their own. But I guess, long story short, I'm okay with Achane as a third rounder, as a high third rounder. There's a point where it's too rich for my blood, but I don't think that point is the point for me.
Fair enough.
Let's see. What are some other names in here? I'm going to bring up the name that I dropped in, because for me, Sam Laporta is a really tough pick in the third round. And like I told you before we hit record, it's not really a Sam Laporta argument. It's more of a value argument with the other tight ends on the board. You got Mark Andrews goes at the end of the 4th round, and Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid go at the top of the 5th. I can't really justify taking Sam Laporta a full round or a round and a half over those other tight ends when I believe they're going to be just as good, if not better, than Sam Laporta this year. So, is Sam Laporta worth a third round pick in the aggregate? Maybe, but only if Mark Andrews, Trey McBride, and Dalton Kincaid are also in that same third round ballpark, and they're not. So I would not want to take Sam Laporta in the third.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the show doc right before this, I initially disagreed with you. I'm like, no, I think that's a good price for Sam Laporta. And realized I'm kind of making the same argument for not taking Josh Allen in the second. Like, I would pass on Josh Allen in the second and take Kyler later and you would pass on Sam Laporta in the third and get Mark Andrews or Dalton Kincaid later, which I do agree with. Like, I think it's more the other tight ends need to be pushed higher on the board. Like Mark Andrews at the 410. I've been an advocate of Mark Andrews really all offseason. Like, people are pushing him down like, oh, he burned me last year, he got hurt. I'm like, yes, but he's healthy now. Like, he's going to be, unless you can't predict injuries, guys. And if Mark Andrews is healthy, he's probably my tight end too, behind Kelsey, honestly. So I think it's more of Mark Andrews needs to be up the board versus taking Sam Laporta there.
Yeah, that's the extent of the argument. It's not anything to do with the fact that Sam Laporta is a bad.
No, he's going to be fine
value
for
or-
fantasy. He's going to be good.
Yeah, I think it's just the other tight ends are probably too low for my money, and therefore that means Sam Laporta is too high. But it's funny because Travis Kelce in the second doesn't bother me at all. It's just that Sam Laporta in the third bugs me, and maybe it's because he just feasted on touchdowns and he didn't give you the yardage, the receptions and yardage, to where you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with him projecting like a 1,100 yard season as a tight end. Like, I would not project that. Whereas with Travis Kelce, I think you can. And so you have, it's like, okay, well, maybe if he doesn't have 11 touchdowns for Kelce this year, he's still going to be a tight end 1 or 2 because you know the receptions and yards are going to be there. Whereas with Laporta, they're probably there. It's just you have to jump a little bit to get there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there.
We got 2 more names. How do you want to tackle these?
I kind of want to tackle the receiver I have here in almost a group,
Perfect.
but I'm thinking maybe we should wait until and talk about him in the same breath as we're talking about another receiver in round 5, maybe.
Let's do it.
Okay.
That leaves us with one name that might end up being a bust in the third round. That name it's blasphemy, but apparently it's Patrick Mahomes.
I put him in here because it's the same argument I make for Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen goes in the second. Well, Patrick Mahomes goes 4 picks later. I would just rather take Kyler or Burrow or Richardson 4 rounds later, or maybe 3 rounds later, rather than have to pay up for one of those guys right here. Could they return value? I mean, they probably will. Like, Patrick Mahomes has a vastly improved offense. Josh Allen has been the quarterback 3 out of the past 4 years. But I just think I can get someone else later that
Where do
has
you
top
think-
5 upside.
Where do you think Mahomes has to go? Because the other quarterbacks in here, Jalen Hurts looks like he went at the 309, CJ Stroud at the 312.
I don't mind Jalen Hurts there. Because you're
if
taking a guy
Mahomes-
who's got the shot at the QB1, but I don't know.
If you flip-flop those two, if Mahomes goes, instead of going at the 303, if he goes at the 309,
I don't mind that as
you-
much.
okay. So it's not necessarily that he's a bad pick in the third round. It's just that with the value on the board,
I'm not
it
taking
is-
him that high in the third round.
okay. If he's a 305, 306, it's like, whatever. But at the 303, it's
It's a little
tougher.
hot.
A little hot.
If it was Josh Allen at the 3-3, I'm okay with that.
See, I don't hate Patrick Mahomes at the 3-3 because I have him projected as my QB1 right now. So
But he
I'm
has
okay.
to be the QB1 if you're taking him there.
Yes, but I think we have enough of a track record. Last season notwithstanding, you've got 5 straight years where he's a top 4 fantasy quarterback. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't hate it, but I don't know. I just think I can get value elsewhere.
That's probably true. Round 4.
There's a glaring
There's
guy
a-
here. That's a big one.
There's a clear and obvious answer for my money. The worst pick in the 4th round is Zay Flowers.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, it's not close.
No, it is. There was one other guy who will be mentioned when we talk about another guy in round 5, but when I looked through, Zay Flowers just popped. It was like I almost could see his name in red compared to the others. Like, that one, nope, that is not like the others.
For me, Zay Flowers is a late 5th, early 6th round pick.
Yeah. He is going a full round ahead of where we're comfortable taking him.
Yeah, and I think it's just the offense. Like, last year, the narrative going into the season about the Baltimore Ravens was that they were going to throw the ball more. And they did in neutral scripts. I think they were top 15 passing in neutral scripts. The problem was they were never in neutral scripts. They were killing people. And I don't think that they're going to be in neutral game scripts all the time. They're always a good team. So there's certain games, and I think we've seen this with Lamar Jackson year over year over year. They kill people, but Lamar Jackson doesn't end up having a good fantasy week. They'll kill somebody, and Zay Flowers has 4 catches for 50 yards. And that's it. That's all that's needed from the offense that day. I don't like that as my 4th round pick.
No, and my whole argument for it is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews actually goes a pick ahead of him in this draft, but look at the numbers with and without him. With Andrews, Zay Flowers averaged, or without Andrews, he averaged 23% target share. Pretty good. And a 13.2 points per game. That's not bad. I'll take that. With him, his target share only dropped 22%, which is only 1% lower, but his points per game went to 8.2 when Andrews is playing. That's a pretty significant drop to me. And
you know what that tells me?
What?
Tells me that once they get inside the 20-yard line, if there's going to be a passing touchdown, Mark Andrews is the first read, and Zay Flowers disappears.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not that Zay Flowers is a bad player. He's very good, but, I mean, the numbers kind of speak for themselves there. And this is not even mentioning that they're running the ball and doing all this stuff with Gus Edwards as their RB1. They just added Derrick Henry, who's going to be a red zone machine. So last season, and I feel like last season kind of everything went right for Zay Flowers. Like, even with a 22% target share, I'm like, that feels really good for Zay Flowers. And Mark Andrews got hurt, even better for Zay Flowers, and he was still only the wide receiver 31 in PPR leagues. So everything went right for him, finishes as wide receiver 31, and right now, according to this draft board and most like ADPs you look at, he's going around wide receiver 24 or 25. So you bring back a healthy Mark Andrews, you add in Derrick Henry to take goal line rushing touchdowns, and somehow his ADP goes up. I'm not with it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough pick to make, and it's probably just the offense speaking, because I was a big fan of Zay Flowers as a prospect. I think I said at one point he looked a lot like Antonio Brown, but
it's way too rich for me.
It's very rich for my blood. Are we skipping this next name and going straight to the 5th round?
Yeah, we can skip that.
All right. The 5th round is a 3-pack, and it's not a 3-pack of 5th rounders. It's just a 3-pack that all affect one another, and therefore we're going to talk about the Houston Texans.
Yeah, let's have the conversation at them all. So actually, Nico Collins goes in the 3rd, Stephon Diggs goes in the 4th, and Tank Dell goes in the 5th. Oh,
that's so convenient.
You were more of a fan of Nico Collins than I at their current price. It's not necessarily that Nico's a bad pick there. He did have 3.11 yards per route run last season, which is 2nd among wide receivers. That's a very good stat to have. He was extremely efficient, and he could very much return value at this draft spot. But I guess it's just I'm scared that he's probably the wide receiver 1, but I don't know that he's really the dominant wide receiver 1 there, because he had a 24% target share in 2023. but we're treating it like they added Tyler Boyd. They didn't add Tyler Boyd. They added Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is a very, very good receiver. It was the back half, like the last 6 games of the season, people just almost wanted to hate Stephon Diggs, but up until those last 6 games, he was up there with Devontae Adams as one of the best receivers in the NFL. Maybe not the best, but a top 5-ish receiver. And they switched offensive coordinators, and it's almost like, oh, it was all on Stephon Diggs. It wasn't all on Stephon Diggs. He's still very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more of a believer in Nico Collins. Like, it's really difficult to parse out who's going to be the leader in the clubhouse for these receivers. You just have to call your shots on the player, the talent, and not so much worry about the situation. And I think Nico Collins has all of the hallmarks of a stud ex-receiver in the NFL. I also think Tank Dell's a really good player. And I also think Stephon Diggs is a really good player. So it is difficult. But I think with Nico Collins, the role in the offense, being the outside X receiver, he's going to be on the field every play, being that he was top 10 in first downs per route run last year, he was top 10 in yards per route run last year. He had an incredibly efficient season, as well as like a totality numbers accumulated type season. So like all the metrics look great. The final numbers look great. Everything for his season last year looked incredible. Without Tank Dell, it didn't matter. He was awesome. So I think if Stephon Diggs is not there, Nico Collins is getting drafted at the top of the 2nd round. And so you get like a full round discount on what he is. And then you're left with, okay, who kind of steps into that solid second role? Because I think you have 2 receivers that will get supported and return somewhat on investment in the offense, but certainly not 3. And
yeah,
so
go ahead.
I think there's a clear guy that will be left out. For me, it's Tank Dell. But I don't know. It is tough. It is really, really tough.
Yeah, I think it's just too sketchy. It's great for C.J. Stroud, but having all 3 of those guys there is just scary to me. I racked my brain and couldn't think of like when was the last time we saw a team with like legitimately 3 great receivers on it. I couldn't think of one. The best one I came up with was the 2021 Bengals when you had Chase, Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. And Chase and Higgins, like Chase was wide receiver 5, I think T. Higgins with 18, and Tyler Boyd was wide receiver 31. And I feel like that's best case scenario you're looking at because you got an elite quarterback with 3 great receivers. So wide receiver 31 was the highest Tyler Boyd could push through. And right now, all 3 of those receivers are going in the top 26. So can it happen? It could. It very well could. If C.J. Stroud goes out there, throws 50 touchdowns, all 3 receivers stay healthy all year, yeah, it could happen. But historically, your odds of that are not great. For 3 top 26 wide receivers in the same offense, there is one guy going to be the odd man out. I think Collins is risky, but he probably is the safest of the 3. So if you want to take him in the 3rd, I don't love it, but that's fine. Diggs scares me in the 4th round, and Tank Dell really scares me in the 5th round.
Yeah, Tank Dell is terrifying because I believe in the talent, and I believe what the eyeball test told me about him last year. The problem is, I mean, like you said, it's just really hard to imagine all 3 end up returning value on investment. Tank Dell, for me, I'm like, I don't want to touch that until, the beginning of the 7th round. And it's not because I don't like the player. It's just that is a really difficult proposition. Is he going to get enough targets to be good?
Historically, just look at what's happened in the past. It's so hard to do. Like wide receiver 31 when the Bengals were healthy all season. That's the best you were hoping for with theirs. You got an elite quarterback throwing to elite receivers. And the Texans, like I said, they absolutely can. But at the current price that all 3 receivers are going at, you're betting that they absolutely will and I don't like counting on that at their current price.
Yeah. Anything else on these three before we hop into the 6th round?
No, I think that was it.
So in the 6th, there were not any names that jumped out to me as this is a bust pick, which is weird because it's the 6th round. You'd think there would be somebody. The
Yeah,
one
we had
that
a lot of argument about rounds 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
And 6 was like, no, that should happen.
Yeah, it's like I don't really have any issues with any of these guys. The one that I pulled out was Najee Harris, and he goes to the 6'10". I don't really hate him at the 6'10". I'd probably rather have Ramondre, who goes 2 picks later, but it's not an awful pick. It's just if you've got to pick one in the 6th round that I don't love, that to me is the one. And it's mostly just because I don't believe in Pittsburgh's offense. They've looked pretty rough in preseason. And I know, like last week, I was talking him up because Jaylen Warren's going to miss a couple weeks. But I guess we do have in the record books 2 straight years where he starts out slow. Fantasy players look around and go, oh, this is the bust of 2022 and 2023. And then he ends up salvaging at the end of the year. I mean, after 8 weeks, if we look up and Najee Harris is like RB31, are we going to be super duper surprised?
Not really.
Not really. So I don't know. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either in the 6th round.
It's not a sexy pick. It's I don't know. It's just a pick you made. That's all it is.
It's just a pick. Round 7.
There's a big one here.
There's a big one here, and I think it's an obvious one. I'll let you do the honors. You put the name in here. You got to the dock first, but I want to say I wholeheartedly agree. This is the worst pick in the 7th round.
There's a lot of guy I've had strong feelings about, but this one it's just horrifying to have to pay this price for him. And it's Jordan Addison. That is terrifying, dude.
That's real scary.
I've heard people making arguments against Justin Jefferson. Some I think are warranted. Some I think are absolutely ridiculous. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL. But if people are pushing Justin Jefferson down draft boards, then you really need to be scared of Jordan Addison on draft boards.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a similar Sam Laporta argument in the fact he had a lot of touchdowns as a rookie. He had 10. I don't think Justin Jefferson's ever had 10 touchdowns. Maybe he's had it once.
No, I don't. I don't think he has.
So he had 10 touchdowns as a rookie. He only had 3 after Kirk Cousins got hurt. So your quarterback play dipped, and he went from 7 touchdowns to 10 touchdowns second half, or 3 touchdowns second half. Factor in T.J. Hockenson is going to be coming back at some point during the season, so his target share is going to drop even further. Like maybe at the beginning of the season he's okay. Like obviously Justin Jefferson's the one. He could have some success early, with no Hockenson there. But when he comes back, that's going to hurt it even more. And it is also the fact of the quarterback situation. Is Sam Darnold is the quarterback one. And if Sam Darnold doesn't impress and really starts to falter and slow down, it does not get better than him. There's not J.J. McCarthy sitting on the bench like, all right, we can put him in, and he probably gives us hope for a better future. Like, no. Like, right now, Sam Darnold's it. If he doesn't pan out, it's downhill from there.
Yeah, my favorite part about this is I was just, while you were talking, looking at the draft board, and just the interesting comparison here. Jordan Addison goes at the end of the 7th round. Deontay Johnson goes in the middle of the 8th. Jordan Addison is the wide receiver 2 for Sam Darnold, and the wide receiver 1 happens to be the best wide receiver in football. And Deontay Johnson is the wide receiver 1 for Bryce Young.
I would rather have Deontay.
I would rather have Deontay. Like, that
I
is
would
such
rather
a
have
weird...
Ladd McConkey. Jackson Smith
Yes.
and Jigba goes in the 8th round. I would rather have straight up Jackson Smith and Jigba to Jordan Addison.
Yeah, there's just, like, with that pick, how do you win? How does that pick pan out? Like, that is such a huge risk
I could understand it more
thing.
more in best ball. I still don't love it there, but I guess more in best ball, like if he's stretching the field with Justin Jefferson on the other side, he can score some touchdowns, but it's going to be so volatile and so hard to predict that if it's not best ball, I'm not touching it.
Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to justify, I think.
Yeah. It's
Final round.
horrifying.
8th round. Talk about horrifying. There's 3 names that I pulled out in the 8th round, and all of them are equally terrifying, and they all are running backs. Austin Eckler, Zach Moss, and Nick Chubb are all, I think, pretty terrible picks in the 8th round for different reasons. Austin Eckler, I believe, is washed. And going to a situation where he is clearly the change of pace back, I think he's probably just like a slightly better version of Antonio Gibson. And Antonio Gibson, as we have all realized,
I think he's more than slightly because Antonio Gibson really was never good. Austin Eckler's been very good.
Antonio Gibson was a top 12 running back for like 2 years.
Was he top 12? I don't remember this.
He was a top
I remember
12
you
fantasy
always
running
being
back for
way
2
too
years.
high on Antonio Gibson.
Oh, I thought he had the chance to be
You
electric.
thought he was the second coming.
I was very impressed with what I saw, and then it turned out that Ron Rivera did not like him very much, which is, yeah, that's fine. I really don't think Austin Eckler's got a whole lot of juice left at this point in his career, and Brian Robinson to me is clearly the starter. So that's not fun.
I think he can be a good pass catcher. Depending on how they, I think that if it was a different quarterback in, I think we would feel a little bit differently. But the fact that it is Jaden and he is going to run, I think that's what scares you and me off of Eckler there. Of like, Jaden's less likely to dump it off than any other quarterback.
Yeah. That's one of those, like, how does Austin Eckler pan out? It's probably that he scores touchdowns. And that's just not a bet I'm willing to make, to be totally honest with you.
It's another better in best ball pick than a regular redraft.
Yes. The other name is Zach Moss, and it's mostly just because I keep hearing word on the street is that Chase Brown.
They love Chase Brown.
Yeah, I keep hearing Chase Brown's probably going to be the starter. And if you're taking a backup running back or even a 1B committee back in the 8th round, I'm not about it. That does not sound fun to me.
Yeah. Nick Chubb, it's almost sad to say it.
Oh, it's so sad.
I just don't know when he's going to be back. I have no idea.
Brown's reporting says he could be back earlier than later in the season, but everybody's always ahead of schedule, and Nick Chubb is like the Cleveland Browns mascot. Everybody loves him there, and so they're going to talk good things about Nick Chubb. I don't have any interest in a 28-year-old running back that ripped his knee in half. And
his knee quite literally exploded on national television.
it blew up. And they happen to have a running back there already that is serviceable. It's like there's no need to rush Nick Chubb back. I don't know. He may come back week 4 and look awful until like week 10 and then be good down the stretch. I still would not like that in the 8th round.
Yeah. I hate it for you, Nick. And I hope he does come back, but it's too scary for me.
It's quite scary. So, that is our busts in each of the first 8 rounds in fantasy drafts this year in one quarterback leagues. I don't know about you, but now that we've had all that negativity, feeling great.
I'm ready for some positivity. I'm ready for some football. We got, did you watch the Florida State game this weekend, Josh?
Absolutely did.
That was a great opening to college football season. Like, it sucks for Florida State fans, but it was a great opening.
It's absolutely amazing.
You kick off with an upset, good game.
It was a great game. And Florida State fans have been insufferable for the past 8 months, and I think it was just really funny after all of that for them to come out and lay an egg on national TV.
I don't have as much experience. I'm an SEC guy, so I don't know how the fans have been.
they missed the playoff, and it's like now you got to go prove
yeah,
it.
well, that-
You lose 63-3 to Georgia or whatever, and then basically after after Jordan Travis got injured, they're now 0-2, and it's just guys, we're not circling the wagon super well right now. We need somebody to step up and figure things out.
I don't know how. I don't love Cade Klubnik as Clemson's quarterback. Now, obviously,
no,
Carolina
he's
fan, there's a little bias here, but I don't think Cade Klubnik is very good. But they did the right thing, not bringing DJ Uyunglele back.
That was rough.
No matter how bad Cade Klubnik is, that was still the right call.
That negative yards per attempt was real sexy
God.
there. Hooey. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. Football season is here, which means fantasy football season is almost here. I did the work league draft. I'm ready to rock and roll.
I've got one draft this weekend. I'm not in enough redraft leagues this year. I'm really not.
I feel like I never want to get in that many redraft leagues because I just prefer Dynasty. But at this point in the year, every year, I do get a bit of a redraft itch. Just the act of drafting, which you don't ever do in Dynasty, is kind of fun.
I think I need to do more underdog drafts. That would probably push me more into it.
Underdog is fun. I joined a lot of free best ball drafts on Sleeper, and that was a blast. I just had 3 or 4 of them going at the same time, slow drafts. That was really fun. Doing that drafting exercise was a blast.
That's fair.
So we'll see. We're ready to rock and roll. You and Landon are recording another Dynasty episode. What are you hopping into later this week?
I want to say we've got a trade show. I'm just going to review a few trades and then kind of lean into some rebuild strategy. I'm doing a couple redrafts or rebuilds at the moment. Landon just came out of rebuild himself. So kind of feels like a fun topic to discuss and just see. It's rebuilding is the more easier to have conversations. Like contending, you kind of sort of know what to do. Like go, if they're older, it doesn't matter. Go get them if they're going to produce for you. But rebuilding is very intricate. It's very fun if you can do it successfully because you're kind of crafting this vision in your head of what the team could be in the future, and it is fun.
No, rebuilding, hitting the rebuild and then it working, coming out of a season when you're terrible and then immediately jumping into contention, that's a fun time.
Watching it come together is a lot of fun.
That's a blast. Yeah, 100% excited for that. I cannot wait to hear how y'all approach rebuilding because no offense to you, but Landon is one of the better rebuilders I have seen, at least that I've in the leagues that I've been in.
Well,
He
we've
has
only
turned
ever
around a
seen
couple
him do
things.
it once.
Well, twice. We
Twice.
saw him do a quick little turn on the log team this past year that I thought was
in
really
his defense,
impressive.
he didn't really choose to rebuild that team. Like it was already rebuilding when he took it over. So
Well, this is what it was. We waived his buy-in because the team was so bad,
Yes.
and then now it's a playoff team, and it's
we were like,
very,
dude, it's going to
very
take you a
good.
minute it's going to take you a minute to get back in. And then within like 2 months, we're like, oh, is he going to make the playoffs?
He almost did.
He almost did.
It was incredible. So yeah, that'll be a really fun episode. I can't wait to check that one out. Anything else you want to hop into before we get out of here?
I think that's all we got.
Beautiful. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see all your smiling faces here in just a couple days.
Peace.